worries about what's happened during the day, what might happen tomorrow, or how long you're going to be lying there restless and awake. Often, the only time we have complete silence is when our heads hit the pillow, or if we wake up in the middle of the night. But the problem is that silence with no direct distractions. Is pretty much the perfect chance for our so-called monkey mind to chat at us non-stop and be heard loud and clear, filling our thoughts with tasks and regrets, fears and doubts, worst-case scenarios and what-ifs, reflections and decisions. Fighting against anxious thoughts will only make them bigger, so try these tricks to help relax, divert your mind, or take it off to a better, quieter and more peaceful, pleasant place, perfect for slipping off to dreamland. List 5 positive things. Forget about counting sheep, count your blessings. Every night, write down or say aloud 5 things that were good about your day. They can be as simple as getting a compliment from your boss or finding a parking spot near the entrance. Expert psychological studies conducted by UK and Canadian universities have shown that writing a gratitude journal or just thinking about what's good in your life at bedtime rather than what's bad can help you fall asleep quicker and for longer. So go ahead. For a better sleep, try developing a habit of thankfulness. Talk, don't think. If your mind is a storm of worry, then when you hit the bed, try speaking. Talking out loud activates a part of the brain different from those responsible for internal negative thoughts. It can also help slow things down. Our thoughts can run much faster than we can physically speak. You could simply say something like, calm down, every time worries into your head. Then speak positive thoughts or possible solutions to deal with the thoughts, the issue you're stressing over. One study carried out by Bangor University gave participants a set of written instructions and asked them to read them either silently or out loud. Attention and performance were measured, and both were better in those who had read out the instructions. Hearing yourself seems to help you gain more control of a situation. So, if you're anxious about a big unexpected bill that's coming, for example, try saying it out loud. I just need to check the bank statement tomorrow and start making a budget for the month. It can easily be paid if we're a little more careful for the next couple of weeks. This tactic works just as well if you whisper, by the way. Waking your partner at night by loudly stating will not be conducive for restful sleep for either of you. The elephant in the bedroom. If you were told not to think about a pink elephant before going to bed, the chances are that a pink elephant would keep appearing in your thoughts quite a lot. Similarly, try to avoid worrying. Thoughts at bedtime can often have the opposite effect and stress you out in the process. In one fascinating study, researchers from the University of Oxford asked their volunteers to choose a thought most likely to dominate their pre-sleep. It could be anything from a worry about health to not being able to fall asleep. They were then split into 2 groups. The first group was told to try and avoid the particular thought, and the second to simply relax and let their thoughts come and go. Guess what? The first group took longer to fall asleep, and their sleep was more disrupted than the second. Free thinking groups. Actively or forcefully telling yourself to avoid a thought can not only make it bigger, but it can also stimulate your brain, putting it into a busy work mode. Don't think about X or Y, rather than relax mode. Z. So try to let your thoughts come and go at bedtime without trying to get rid of them, but at the same time without focusing on them. Acknowledge a worrying thought and tell it calmly, thank you for popping into my mind. I can't do anything about you at the moment, so I'll deal with you tomorrow. Keep a peaceful mind. Tells your brain you're not on high alert about anything. It doesn't need to do anything just now towards solving a problem, thus you are far more likely to fall asleep. Try and stay awake. Sounds strange, but it might just work. Research researchers asked one group of insomniacs to try fall asleep as they normally would, and told another to lie in bed, keeping their eyes open and try to stay awake for as long as they could. The results: the second group fell asleep quicker and reported less anxiety about drifting off. It is because sleep is an automatic process. The researchers suggested that trying to fall asleep can actually interfere with the process. Plus, going to bed without the pressure of having to fall asleep also seemed to help. Send your mind off to a happy place. A white snowy mountain, a green forested trail, a sparkling blue lake, or a field of bright yellow sunflowers. Researchers at the University of Oxford found that insomniacs who were told to visualize a happy place or a relaxing scene drifted off to sleep 20 minutes faster than when instructed to think of nothing or to count sheep. It was suggested that counting sheep was simply too boring to distract the insomniacs from any worries they were having, whereas using imagery to immerse themselves in a happy place was engaging enough to distract them. Further research has shown that compared to good sleepers, insomniacs tend to summon up fewer images but experience a higher percentage of unpleasant ones when they try and sleep. So creating a pleasant view might just do it for you. Use your 5 senses. When you visualize your happy place, make it as realistic as possible by using your 5 senses: what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, as well as seeing the beautiful scenery in your mind's eye. Hear the faint sound of birds singing, the gentle rustling of leaves. Feel the breeze on your face, the soft grass under your feet. Breathe the smell of the fresh air and imagine the taste of the refreshing drink. Use all 5 senses helps to keep you focused away from unwanted thoughts, really involving you in enjoying your happy place. Pen and paper by the bed. Ever woken up and suddenly remembered a bill you haven't paid, a note you've forgotten to send into school, or someone's birthday? Or maybe these thoughts pop into your head at bedtime. They're not exactly world problems that you need to dwell on, but they probably keep you awake because your brain is worried that you might forget what you've just remembered by the morning. Keep a pen and paper by the bed so you can write down all these reminders. That way, you give your brain permission to forget about them for the night so you can fall asleep. Play mind games. Give your brain a mental exercise to do when you hit the bed. A study from Southern Illinois University found that giving insomniacs moderately hard mental arithmetic problems to do at bedtime made them fall asleep quicker. Try counting backwards from 100 or even 1,000 in groups of 5 if you want to make it more challenging and to show your mind doesn't drift. Come back in groups of 4, 7, 12 or 18 for example. Focusing on a mental task like this helps divert away from any worries. Also, just the rhythmic pattern of counting in blocks could help you soothe to sleep. If math isn't your thing, try another mind game. Think of countries beginning with A, fruits beginning with B, and so on. One thing to note though, the study found that people who didn't have sleep problems took longer to get to sleep playing these games, so only use this trick on nights you're having trouble. Lull yourself to sleep with a song. It might sound odd, but crooning a lullaby reminds you of happy sleep times from your childhood, and it can help you feel more relaxed and safe now. Concentrating on the singing will also block out thoughts that might keep you awake, and the way our mouths move when we sing helps to relax the jaw. Good for those of us who clench it when we're tense, which can prevent us from getting sleepy. The ideal speed of a lullaby around 60 to 80 beats per minute, which matches a resting heart rate. A study by Case Western Reserve University found that people who listened to soothing music at this pace slept better for longer too. Calm your mind with a mantra. Do you lie in bed and criticize yourself over something you did or didn't do, should or shouldn't have said during the day? When your mind won't let you sleep because you dwell on something Then try repeating a silent mantra. A study published by Brain and Behavioral Journal found that repeating a word to yourself over and over can quiet your mind by reducing activity in all areas of the brain, especially the part called the default mode network, which is involved in self-judgment and self-reflection. Pick a word with a positive meaning, something like well, happy, or fine. Repeat the word over and over again in your mind, focusing on it as a mantra. If your mind drifts, bring it back to the mantra, and the troubling thoughts should soon fade away. Use images to drift off to sleep. Cognitive shuffling, or serial diverse imaging, is a technique that can help you fall asleep, invented by the cognitive scientist Dr. Lullabies. It's meant to divert your mind from any analytical thinking and problem solving that might be happening in your brain at bedtime and keeping you awake. And to this by making you think of a dreamy parade of random images that have no relation to each other. Sleep research has found that as we fall asleep, we often create a variety of diverse, brief visual images and have micro dreams, and that these images may actually help us nod off. And this method is designed to take your brain to this fuzzy pre-sleep picture viewing state. Here's how to do it. First, think of a word of 5 letters or more, preferably with no repeating letters. For example, flower. Then, with the first letter of the word, think up as many different images as you can. For example, fairy, imagine a fairy flying in a garden. Flute, imagine playing a flute in a band. Flame, imagine a candle burning brightly. Keep generating words and images until you get stuck or bored, then move on to the next letter of the word. Leave your bed. One way of avoiding insomnia is to create a strong link between your bed and sleep. So, if you can't fall asleep or stay asleep after waking up, many experts recommend that after 15 or 20 minutes you should leave your bed. It seems illogical, but the idea is that getting up will help you stop connecting your bed with being awake and annoyed. I'll add a warning here though. If after 15 or 20 minutes you're lying in bed, awake but feel calm and comfortable, stay there. That's perfectly fine. But if you feel fidgety, uneasy and worried, then get up, go downstairs or sit in a chair or beanbag in your bedroom. Do something dull, such as listening to soothing music or reading a non-exciting book in low light. As soon as you start to feel sleepy again, slowly get up and go back to bed. This all helps to strengthen in your mind that your bed is a place for sleep, not restlessness. If leaving your bed feels like too big a step, you can always try sitting up in bed or getting out from under the covers and sitting on the side of the bed and reading or listening to music. Then when you feel sleepy, lie down again. That way you're still reinforcing the association of lying down in your bed with sleepiness. Name your emotions. Put your feelings into words. When in bed, worries overwhelm your mind and start to feel completely trapped in them. Your amygdala, the part of the brain that's related to your fight or flight response, can go into overdrive. But if you give these emotions you're feeling a name or an identity by saying I'm angry, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, or I'm overwhelmed, for example, you can effectively stop the emotional response. A study from the University of California, Los Angeles, published in the journal Psychological Science, found by doing so, less activity in the amygdala was recorded and more in the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, a part of the brain that stops you from overreacting. And another study by the same university, participants who were afraid of spiders and who were told the name their anxious emotions showed the least physical signs of fear, such as a fast heartbeat. Try identifying each anxious emotion as it comes into your head. You may well find it reduces the strength of your feelings and helps you calm your mind down so that you can fall asleep. Try biofeedback. This is another therapy that aims to help use your thoughts to control your stress response. So it's especially good for people who find it hard to relax or feel nervous at bedtime. There are therapists who can perform the technique. It involves attaching electrodes to different parts of the body, which means measure your stress response, such as a muscle tension and heart rate. The therapist will then teach you how to try to relax and manage that response. There are different types of biofeedback. For example, in neurofeedback, sensors are placed on the head to measure brain activity. If you're anxious and lots of worries are racing through your mind, the sensors will pick up the fast brain waves. The therapist will then help you relax and quiet your mind, and the sensors will show slower, more relaxed brain waves. In respiratory feedback, sensors are placed on the chest and abdomen to record your breathing pattern. The therapist will then teach a stressed breather to breathe slowly through the abdomen. Ask a doctor or other healthcare professional for recommended biofeedback practitioners. There are also some biofeedback devices, interactive computer programs, and apps you can try for yourself. Stop exaggerating your sleeplessness. Fear and anxiety about how your sleeplessness might affect your health or ability to cope can just make sleep problems worse. A typical scenario might go like this. You're lying in bed, unable to sleep. You start to panic because you have a busy day tomorrow. You're worried that you're not going to be able to handle everything. If you can't handle your workload, you'll look foolish in front of your colleagues. Your boss, there'll be talk at the office of layoffs, so you may even lose your job. If you lose your job, you'll lose your house or your apartment. The cycle of worry and anxiety gets worse, so there is now even less of a chance that you'll fall asleep. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, has been shown to really effective tool to help reduce this type of anxiety that many of us feel about not being able to sleep and stay asleep. Part of the therapy involves recognizing negative, unrealistic, and inaccurate thoughts about sleep. Then break the cycle by challenging them as they arrive in your head and replacing them with other far more realistic ones. So, for example, as a thought, if I don't fall asleep within 10 minutes, I'll never survive tomorrow fills your head. Try to see it for what it is, a lie and an exaggeration. Then try replacing it with a more realistic thought, such as, I've had sleepless nights before and I've always managed to get through the following day. I'm just going to have to stop worrying about falling asleep and enjoy the fact that I'm lying down and relaxing. Simply resting will do me good. Regularly practicing this technique can help you change the negative, exaggerated thought patterns that hype you up at night and make it harder for you to sleep. For extra help on this, try the next step. Put your thoughts on trial. Test your thoughts with evidence. It may be helpful to keep a thought record to help you figure out whether your beliefs about your sleeplessness are true or if they tend to amplify the negative and jump to the worst case scenario. Thought records push you to test your thoughts with evidence as you look for the evidence for against the thought you have. You can make your own thought record in a notebook or download a template from the internet. A simple search for cognitive behavioral therapy thought record will come up with results. Fill out the form every time you have a strong or upsetting thought about sleep, be it in the daytime or nighttime when you're in bed. Typically the form will have headings such as the following. Below each heading there is an example of a thought you may have about sleep and the sort of comments you may give the thought. I'm having about sleep. I'm lying in bed, unable to sleep. I need 8 hours tonight. Why can't I sleep? There's something wrong with me. How the thought makes me feel. Anxious, panicked, tearful, hopeless. Is there a more realistic, balanced version of this thought? It would be nice to get a solid 8 hours, but not everyone needs that amount of sleep to function well. There's plenty of evidence to support the belief that people can manage on much less than that. There's nothing seriously wrong with me. It's impossible to have an inability to fall asleep. I'm feeling stressed because I've taken on too much work and my mind is overactive. At night, that could be interfering with my ability to relax and fall asleep. I need to cut back on work and give myself a little bit more time, me time. How I feel now. More optimistic, less negative, more in control. After filling out thought records for a while, you should find it easier to recognize and challenge the unhelpful thoughts you get at bedtime. When it's often far too easy to imagine the worst, you come to realize that you don't have to believe in every disastrous thought you have about sleeping. Interestingly, many people who revisit their bedtime remarks in the thought I'm having about sleep section during the day are shocked by the catastrophic scenarios they've written down. Your daytime rational mind sees those thoughts as unreasonable and exaggerated. Carrying out this exercise regularly could help you put a stop to exaggerated thinking at nighttime as you become more able to rationalize your thoughts even in the dark of the night. Tap your way to better sleep. Emotional freedom technique, EFT, or tapping, is a therapy thought to help release negative emotions like stress or anxiety. Sometimes called psychological acupuncture, and involves quickly tapping various energy pathways around the body to rewire neural pathways to the brain, helping you to see a situation in a more positive light. One Korean university study found it was a useful tool to combat insomnia in older people. You can learn the technique from a therapist or in a class, but a simple exercise you can use in bed if you're feeling stressed is to tap 2 or 3 fingers on the karate chop point of your forehead, the soft spot just below the little finger. Focus on what you feel anxious about as you tap, and if you could help change your perspective on that, what's worrying you, and calm you to sleep. Use positive bedtime affirmations. I fall asleep so easily, there's nothing to it. Using positive statements, affirmations like this could help you change any negative thoughts you have about sleep. Our minds are constantly influenced by what people say to us. For example, if someone says you look tired, you may start to feel that way even if you felt wide awake until that moment. In this way, we can influence the minds to approach sleep positively, to see it as something natural and easy, and not as something to worry about not getting enough of, by telling ourselves optimistic, encouraging things about it. Our brains form new neural connections all the time. By regularly repeating positive affirmations about sleep, we can create new pathways in the brain, reprogramming our minds to feel differently about it. It's called neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to change and adapt. There are just a couple of rules about using affirmations. They need to be in the present tense and can't contain negative words like can't or won't. Try saying statements to yourself like the ones below. As you do your nighttime routine, look at yourself in the mirror as you say them out loud or just run through them in your mind if you don't want to look too crazy. I can easily fall asleep gently and peacefully. I like going into my bedroom. It's such a lovely place of calm and relaxation. I drift off to sleep easily and stay peacefully throughout the night. Repeat the affirmations every night and several times throughout the day to keep convincing your mind what a superb sleeper you are. In bed, be in the moment. Mindfulness meditation can be a great tool to help you sleep and involve shifting your brain away from the doing mode, worrying, contemplating, analyzing, problem solving, all the things that can stop you from sleeping, to a being mode, simply being in the present, usually by focusing on your breathing. The aim is not to make your worrying thoughts simply stop, but rather to observe those thoughts, acknowledge them, and allow them to pass without acting dwelling on them. In a randomized control trial at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, adults with chronic insomnia who tried the practice for 8 weeks slept better. Try it yourself like this. If a thought or worry is spinning around your mind at bedtime, acknowledge that it's there, but don't dwell on it or try to make any judgments such as "I'm so silly to think that" or "I'm annoyed with myself for feeling so upset." Instead, bring your attention back to your breathing. You might want to use a phrase like, to help you focus, something like "breathe in the calm, breathe out the stress" can help. Breathe in slowly, imagining the calm filling your body and mind. Then, on your exhale, imagine seeing the air from your breath travel away from you, carrying with it your internal stress. As you breathe this way, while thoughts are pushing their way into your mind, simply keep acknowledging them and tell yourself that